Mr. Ojo, he has spoken about the various stakeholders in making an election a success. Let's focus on the voters themselves. How much do you think that voter education is getting to the people, and how ready do you think the electorate is to go into the 2019 elections?
Well, I think as of now, we can't say that much has changed when it comes to voting, the actual voting. In saying this, based on what you have asked, I'm not extending it to voter registration exercise. It is deemed that you are already registered before you can vote. Now, voters need to be constantly made to be aware of their responsibilities. And the responsibility for doing this lies primarily with the political parties. They are the ones presenting candidates. They're supposed to raise the awareness of the people that please come out and vote. But the reverse is the case in Nigeria. Most political parties even want to only encourage their party members only to go out and vote. Why they don't bother to encourage non-party members to go and vote? Why? Because they can only be sure of their party members' voting pattern. So they are afraid of the other politicians, of the other voters who don't belong to political parties. So it is half-heartedly that they reluctantly say, go and vote, but really it is their members they are much more interested in. If you look at the result of elections in the past and the ratio to the number of voters registered, you see that it's very low. In essence, legitimacy of leaders in Nigeria is not that high because it is not majority of Nigerians that produce these leaders. So the voters, they need to wake up. Apart from political parties, the INEC they are also trying to educate them. I wonder what the National Orientation Agency is doing. I know a lot of money is voted for them every year, but I can't see them on the streets. I can't see them doing any voter education. I know non-governmental organizations have been doing this year in, year out. They are still doing it. And in fact, they are responsible for the little awareness that we have. But most importantly, for the voting exercise, the main reason why the turnout is very, very low is because of the lack of ease of voting. There's this ease of doing business in Nigeria. What of the ease of voting? Is it there? I said no. In fact, the system is deliberately designed to discourage,
to frustrate you,
to frustrate voters. You expect people to come out of their homes and go and queue up, exposed to the elements, under the sun, under the rain. In 2018, for Christ's sake, where I can sit in the comfort of my room and vote with my GSM. This morning, or as we are talking, you can take your phone and transfer 500,000 naira from your account to another person. Okay. If that is working, if that is working,
why can't you vote on that same device?
If that is working, why can't I transfer one vote
from the same device
to a pool electronically? The Electoral Act has been amended to pave way for electronic voting.
That's the last amendment, not this current one.
It is still waiting for the assent of the president.
No, is it the same Electoral Act that was returned because of the issues with the local government?
Yes, all of them. You know, the president cannot take one out of the... All of them were packaged and presented. He has refused to sign all of them just because of the order of election. What concerns the president about order of election? Why should he, because of that, refuse to? If the first election, 1999, it was state election, legislature and the federal election first. Why the presidential and governorship came last. The following election, the same thing. It was Professor Jega that reversed it. So, wherever, if you put me first or second, is it because the president is contesting? Is that why he's interested?
Okay.
I believe nobody should be interested.
Okay.
So the ease of voting,
Okay.
they
Should
need
be
to look into it. But
Okay.
you don't have to bring all of us out as if we are
Cattle.
we are
Cattle.
we think we are cattle.
Let me ask this question. Talking about ease of voting,
Yes.
now he also looked at the political parties and the role they play in these elections. Mr. Nwagu said to me about the leadership recruitment process. Says if it's flawed, leadership itself will be flawed. How do you think all of this would go if the parties are not doing voter education? Now it's as they're supposed to. Now it's INEC that is seemingly calling out Nigerians, go pick up your voter's card and all of that. How would this work? Are the parties even organized enough to select? Do they even have a process of selection?
Quality of the candidates.
Well, Alero, the only place quality counts is when you want to spend your money to buy a product. Because it is personal. You buy garbage, then you live with it. But government thing, everybody's business is nobody's business. They say if you have 5 people in a family that are supposed to look after a herd of maybe 20 cows, those cows would go hungry for 1 week because each of them would think that the other person will come with the food. And at the end of the day, nobody will come with any food. Then the following day, they will say, okay, it will not happen again, and it will repeat. So what I'm telling you is that in my first statement, I said that that thing that made the child cry on Monday is still there on Friday evening. So for you to say that the child will not cry is that you are just being unrealistic, because that child has not grown within 1 week to begin to overcome the fear presented by those imageries. What I'm saying is that no matter, I have no problem. I'm not contesting tomorrow. I have been beaten by the electoral snake in this country in 2007. I agree with Nwagu that there has been some improvement in the sense that at least if you are a candidate, you will be able to say you are a candidate, and some people were put in the boot. I was not done that in my statement, but some other candidates in some political parties were put in the boot. That was where they did their election. But it is coming down now because one way or the other, there is a balancing of terror. Not necessarily because we have improved, in our cerebral or intellectual attitude to election. The elector, the voter, is an endangered species. He has been made hungry by statecraft. And he is no longer receptive to anything called education, whether voter or even classroom education. You can see them in the street. A child, even people who talk about cows and all that, they say feed them so that they can produce good milk, isn't it? If you don't give a child good food, protein, it does not to develop the cerebral, architecture. He cannot. He will be failing mathematics as if he is condemned. And people say mathematics is difficult. It's not. When the child has something, that is where you can, if you don't have fertile soil, in vain does the farmer go there planting, hoping for good yield. It doesn't happen. It's not magic. In this place, during the 2015 election, I believe, is it 2015? Yes, the one that brought the president. We were here in a panel. We insisted on making the electoral process electronic. I shouted to the roof, we should try to depersonalize the electoral process. The same manner you don't need to know the cashier in the cubicle to use your ATM to collect your money. Yes. So nobody tells you, weekend income. Nobody tells you that. It's so depersonalized. Yes. It is what you put in there, you go and take. Yes. Elections should be like the route to the market. You go to the market on the strength of what you have in your purse. But it's a free route. If you are a candidate and you have not worked very hard, you will see how people used to vote on election days, and you walk home a dejected, a downcast person on account of your own failure. In Britain, in fact, in political science, when we were reading Political Science 101, we were told that the ballot box was the silent killer. Because you don't fight with anybody. The people who come to vote, you talk to them, you appeal to them. When they are voting, it's, you don't know who voted for who, but at the end of the day, the thing. So one man was saying, if you tried after the election, you didn't see my name, try the mortuary. But if you hear my name, try the state house. Somebody said it in this country sometime when voters mattered. Yes. So now it is programmed that the voters will have no say in anything, both in the recall. In fact, if the recall process is not sponsored by those who have the muscle, where do you coordinate the poor villagers who are in their fishing farm, who are etching out their living? Where do you get people to come and vote and stand in the line for those who will not care for them? There is no reason. When you talked about ease of voting, these guys are not listening. They're not listening, and they don't want it to be easy.